Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trace Trolko, joined by Adam Eaton. Welcome to the Sons of UCF Live. Adam, happy homecoming 2023.
Yeah, it's been, man, I can't realize how many homecomings I've been a part of. It's probably too many that I want to count, but it's always good to get back on campus. I'll be there this weekend, Trace. I know you will. Always good to be back for homecoming.
It is, and boy, UCF needs a victory at home over West Virginia. We're going to get into this game, have a West Virginia guest, preview the Mountaineers a little bit. We'll talk about what went right for the Knights at Oklahoma, hopefully carry things over into this West Virginia game. But before we get to that, did you ever celebrate a homecoming back at the old Citrus Bowl?
I did,
Yeah.
Trace. I spent many time there, yeah.
Yeah, now known as Camping World Stadium. Looks a little bit different than when we watched games there. Feast on the 50 is going on tonight in Orlando at Camping World Stadium. And joining us now, Gianna April with the Greater Orlando Knights alumni chapter, who is...
There's a lot of chaos going on with Gianna right now. I see some fireworks going on there. I see the lights are out.
Right now we're at Feast on the 50. I don't know if you can hear me, but we are having a fireworks show right now.
As you told us in the green room that they may be getting right off the show.
But it's
Gianna, what's it been like out there tonight? She may not be able to hear.
There's no chance she hears a word you're saying right now.
Gianna, what's been going on out there tonight?
I thought it was awesome. We didn't win most spirited. UF won again, unfortunately, but awesome turnout. Over 150 alumni turned out, so it was awesome. We can't wait for next year.
All right. Well, Gianna, we thank you for joining us. We'll let you go and enjoy the fireworks. All right, Gianna.
Poor Gianna.
Well, we had an idea.
UCF debut, and there's fireworks going on. It's unbelievable.
They moved up the fireworks show.
Who plans these things?
They said there was a threat of some weather, so they moved up the fireworks show. We thank Gianna for being with us, though. Give us a little flavor of that. Good turnout by the alumni. This happens during homecoming week, as I mentioned. By the way, do you have a duck? This is one of my favorite.
You know what? I do not have a duck, actually. That's one thing I do not have is I have plenty of random stuff behind me here. No ducks back here, so I need to get a duck.
Well, Spirit Splash on Friday, but really, you're not into this show to talk about Spirit Splash for the next hour. Adam, how are you feeling? I know we talked about it on Around the Kingdom. You and Mike talked about it on the podcast. A little part of you with a moral victory against Oklahoma, or where are you?
I don't believe in the moral victory concept, but I do think that I'm encouraged that we put together a good game plan and a good ball game. I think Kansas was an aberration. We did not play well at Kansas. Kansas State, we were there and sort of, lost it at the end. Baylor's a whole different story. So I'm glad we put together a game. I'm not a moral victory guy, but I'm encouraged by what I saw. I'm encouraged that we cleaned some things up. I'm encouraged that we actually should have won this game, Trace. I think there's a valid argument to be made that UCF should have won against Oklahoma on Saturday. And I'm encouraged by that. I'm hoping that can carry over into West Virginia this Saturday. I would have loved a victory. Proud of the way we fought, but at the end of the day, we're still 3-4. Nothing changes that. I would have loved to see us pull out a victory. And I'm sure we're going to talk about all the things that went on, 2-point conversion, all that stuff. But there were just key moments. I don't think we were 4 of 16 on third down. I mean, you can't go 4 of 16 on third down. We get a sudden change in turnover. You settle for a field goal instead of a touchdown. I think there's moments of the game that you want to see us continue to get better at, but I was encouraged. I was proud of the way the guys fought. I thought this was going to be a blowout. I figured I'd be done by like 1:30. I could plan my day, and I'm proud of the Knights for the way they stuck in there, and they made this a game.
One of the criticisms of Josh Heupel that fans had was, did he accept enough responsibility for mistakes and losses? And you can't say that Darren Hinshaw, offensive coordinator, and head coach Gus Malzahn did not take responsibility for the failed 2-point conversion call. I asked each of them in the media availabilities, what did you make of their answers? I mean, they took responsibility for it. Where do you stand now, a couple days removed from this game? Nobody likes the way that call went, but as Coach Malzahn said, it works, and nobody's questioning you when it works, right?
Yeah, it's tough to judge our answer after the fact, right? Because they're going to say, yeah, in hindsight, I should have done X, Y, Z. I'm okay with the concept of trying something interesting. I just don't love making somebody do something they don't normally do, right? Xavier Townsend is not normally a quarterback, so making him make a pressure throw like that in that situation just feels a little off to me. I would have loved to have rather seen John Rice Plumlee throw that ball than Xavier Townsend. I understand that, that play has worked in other schools. I know I've seen videos all week on Twitter of people who've run that play successfully. And there was a moment of time when that play was open and Xavier throws that ball right off the bat. Maybe it's a different story. I just don't like making somebody do something they're not accustomed to doing. And I think you put guys in tough spots like that, and results like this can obviously be what the result is.
So one topic of conversation this week has been moral victories. Another is no excuses, no excuses. But sometimes things are real, and there were a number of nights ill, including quarterback John Rice Plumlee. You saw him, everyone, in post game. This is a guy that was drained, and he gave you everything he had out on the field. So at least I'm encouraged by the fact that John Rice Plumlee we saw, say, against Boise State and some other games, a better, stronger John Rice Plumlee. Well, I tell you what, if he's gotten over sickness, right, and his knee is healing more, I like what he can do Saturday against West Virginia.
Yeah, no, you and Eric talked about this on Around the Kingdom. I know Eric thinks that his best game ever was the regular season game at Tulane. I don't disagree, but he played really well in this game, Trace. I mean, there's some throws that he made. I think this is going to be a forgotten play of all time, but he was getting a lot of pressure, and he threw like a quasi no-look shovel pass to Randy Pittman for a nice gain, right? We're all going to remember that 2-point play, but we're not going to remember that JRP drove us down there. 4th and 10, a great throw to Javon Baker in the end zone. Obviously the long pass to Javon Baker. I thought he played really well, and if this is the JRP we're going to get under control, being able to really run the offense, I feel really good about where we are. Again, the health is always the issue, right? Like, obviously it was the knee, then it was the flu. Is the knee better now? Is the flu better now? I mean, I almost feel like I need to call JRP daily and just say, how you feeling today? You got a backache? Any hangnails? I just need to check in on him daily now. He won't answer my call, obviously, but I feel like somebody has to check in on JRP daily.
Well, this is a West Virginia team now with 2 straight losses, including that Hail Mary by Houston. They lose that game 41-39 at the end. They lose Oklahoma State 48-34 Knights. We'll see Oklahoma State in a couple of weeks, but we'll get ahead of ourselves talking about them. They've beaten Pittsburgh. They've beaten Texas Tech. They've got a win at TCU. They lost to Penn State as well. But this is a program that was projected last, right? So they've punched above that. Still, UCF is the one without a Big 12 win. And Coach Malzahn is familiar with the West Virginia's coach, Neil Brown, and he talked about what kind of coach he is and as well his team.
He's a really good offensive coach. He's a good football coach, period. At Troy, he did an unbelievable job, and he's doing a really good job this year. I mean, I think somebody said it; they were picked last. They're not the last place team, and I mean, like they're a good football team that could be even better than their record. Real easy. You turn the film on, you can see. I mean, you look at the discipline of their program, that says a lot about him. And he's got the guys playing extremely hard.
I had to chuckle. I got to admit this during the press conference when Coach Malzahn said, "Oh, they're not last." And I'm thinking, which school is bottom there? I caught a glance of another member of the media, and I was just like, I know what he meant, but yeah. Anyway, they're punching above, but there's an opportunity here, Adam. Let's bring back in friend of the program, Coach Paul Lounsbury, longtime assistant coach, UCF football. We're going to talk a little bit more about this one. Coach, welcome back into Sons of UCF Live.
Thanks, Trace. How are y'all?
Doing well. Would feel better coming off an upset win at Oklahoma. Still encouraged by how the team played. Let me talk about one aspect there. You know how many yards they gave up on the ground against Kansas, 400
right.
thereabouts. They played stronger in this game. What did you see them do differently? Why were they better against the run in this game?
Their run fits were better. They've really worked hard the last 2 weeks before that game on fitting on the run with safeties and linebackers, and they did a much better job of that, and they tackled better, and they worked hard on that too. So I'm not sure that Oklahoma was as good a running team as Kansas, but I thought there was a lot of improvement on the defensive side in both tackling and fitting on the run.
Well, you mentioned it, right? Oklahoma not as good a running team as Kansas, but West Virginia runs the ball. They like to control the clock, and you know how dangerous that can be. We saw that when Navy was in the league, right? Where they would go on a 10-minute drive. West Virginia is capable of doing that. UCF has to carry this over now, right? That's the thing. We've been talking about moral victories and what it all means. It doesn't really mean anything unless you carry it over and can show improvement against West Virginia and get a victory.
Well, that's true, and I like what I've seen both in the last game and in the practices that I've gone to. They're heading in the right direction. The team is headed in the right direction. The players are working their tails off. The coaches are working their tails off. And Trace and Adam, it takes everything to get a good football program, especially at the Power 5 level. We've got a great president, President Cartwright. We've got a great athletic director in Terry Mahajer. He's got great assistant athletic directors. We've got a great head coach and great assistant coaches and great support staff. We're going in the right direction. It's about time we get some wins to show that on the scoreboard. And I think this week is going to be that week that we get that first one.
Can I just say real quick, I know you're optimistic about this, but do you understand why fans
Sure.
are upset? I mean, this is they saw that victory against Baylor. It was right there for the taking, and now the slide. Right. And of course, there's a lot of angst in the fan base, but you can understand why people are frustrated amidst this 4-game losing streak.
Absolutely, and it's justified. I mean, we shouldn't have lost that Baylor game, and we should have played better against Kansas. We could have had a chance to win the Kansas State game. Yeah, I understand totally, and we had a chance to win the Oklahoma game. So, but what I see is improvement, and I see we're heading in the right direction. I see all the things that are fitting together, and we're going in the right direction. That's what I have to say about that. And even though we haven't won the game yet, the first Big 12 game, I think we're going the right way, and I hope people will be patient and let that happen. I don't see us having a better group of people to run our program than what we've got there now. And I was in the business a long time, and believe me, we've got great people in our program.
Well, Coach, one of those people obviously is our quarterback, John Rice Plumlee. Evaluate his performance on Saturday. We know the knee was an issue. We learned before the game the flu was an issue. You heard Trace and I talking about it. What did you make of John Rice's performance?
Well, I've said this from the beginning. John Rice he's a winner. He's a competitor. He's a leader. And he did all of those things on Saturday at Oklahoma. In spite of, he got an IV. He didn't go to the meetings on Friday night because he was sick. He got an IV before warm-ups. He got an IV after warm-ups and before the game. And he got another one at halftime. So he laid it all out there. And, I think he's just a winner. And his attitude is leading the team. And I think it's the right direction.
What's the difference in the offense, Coach, obviously, between what you saw, the Timmy McClain-led offense versus the John Rice Plumlee offense? What differences did you see between sort of the way the two quarterbacks were either coached or the way the game plan was put together?
I think it wasn't so much how they were coached or even the game plan that differed so much. I think John Rice is just the more experienced guy. He's the more consistent guy. You'll see Timmy do some great things, and then he'll have a big error. So I really think it's more consistency with John Rice and experience than it is anything. I think Timmy's a fine quarterback and a great guy too. He's a hardworking guy too. But John Rice is a little bit more experienced and steady as the quarterback.
The game at Oklahoma started off sluggish for the Knights. 4 punts off the top of that game. They weren't able to establish the running game, but didn't give up on it. From your experience, when you face inability to establish your ground game and your running game, what's the discussion? What's the thinking? Stick to the game plan and see if you can break through. What as you watch that, they weren't doing well, and then they started to make a move.
I think it depends on what's happening. What I saw in the game was that we were very close to breaking some runs even early in the game, and we were just a step away from getting the run game going. And when you see that as a coach, you figure you can get that going. We just got to clean up a little bit here and there and get it going. So I think that's why they stayed with it. If you're getting your head handed to you,
it's a family show.
You got to find a different way to get it done. And that didn't happen with us. That wasn't the case. So I think that's why they stayed with the game plan, and it worked. And we're a good running team, and we're going to have to be good this Saturday with West Virginia too.
You've heard Coach Malzahn and others talk about getting back to basics, right? And working on fundamentals. When you hear that, do you take it to mean a little bit, maybe we were complicating things a little too much when you hear it, right? What's the inverse of getting back to basics and keeping it more simple?
Well, they've been working on basics all year long, but you're right. Coaches tend to be their worst enemies sometimes and get a little too complicated because it looks pretty good on paper. You know, it isn't what you can draw up, it's what the players can execute. So you have to always challenge yourself to keep things simple enough and precise enough that they can execute it at the right speed. But we just had more time in that open week to emphasize better tackling and to emphasize all the fundamentals that sometimes you don't get enough time during the week when you've got to turn around and play another game right away. You don't get enough time to work on all those things like you'd like to.
Coach, 4 of 16 on third down. How do you fix that? What do you do there?
You keep plugging away. That is a concern. We haven't been very good on third down conversions all year, and as I said a couple of times, that's the key to winning games. And we've got to do better. I think we're capable of doing better, and we've got to keep working at it. I don't know what else you can say. That they have a good plan. You got to execute the plan, and we've got to do it. I don't know what else to tell you about that. You get third down plays based on down and distance and field position and based on what the defense has a tendency to do. And so that's planned out well ahead of time. The calls are made really during the week. You figure out what you think should work. Sometimes it doesn't work the way you think it would. So we just got to keep going and trust that the players will execute it better and that we'll get those third down conversions up to where we can win the games.
All right, Coach, this week I've learned that if you're a UCF fan, you're talking to another UCF fan, you're obligated to ask the question, what did you think of that 2-point conversion call? So you've obviously called plays in your career. You probably know better than us. Coach, what did you make of that 2-point conversion call?
Well, first of all, I didn't think it was a bad call. I agree with what you said. Sometimes we kind of overcoach ourselves and maybe put a player in position to do something that he doesn't normally do. And in that situation, that could have been the case with Xavier. But the concept of getting the ball out there, if they cover the pass, he's got a one-on-one to get it in the end zone, and he's going to win that most of the time. If they don't cover the pass, he's just got to get it and throw it out there. And if he'd have been able to throw it right away without hesitation, I think it would have been a successful completion. But as I told you earlier, now that we know what happened, I'd change the call. But you plan on what should work, and sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. And like Coach Malzahn said, if it worked, you guys would be singing his praises. But Coach Malzahn and Coach Henshaw has been in that business a long time too, and they know, it didn't work, and everybody has a right to complain about it because it didn't work, and we've got to find something that does work.
Well, I asked Coach Malzahn and Coach Henshaw, you're taking your quarterback, the guy who that's his job to throw the football. It's not Xavier's job to do that off the field. And they both sort of said, yeah, right. Fair question.
It is.
Isn't that the rub on this, though, that you're putting the guy that's not his job to do? And if you believe in momentum in a game, they had momentum there. They had just scored. I know we don't have 100% John Rice Plumlee from a knee standpoint. Certainly he's drained. He doesn't feel well. But really, we can't – there's nothing else we can do down there but trickery?
Well, again, I think the concept of the play wasn't bad. We didn't execute, as you said, for all those reasons. But hindsight's 20/20, and if we had had a little bit more success running the ball down there, it might have been a stronger consideration to run the ball there. But we hadn't had that great a success down there. So I think, again, there's a lot of different things you can do, and we have a lot of different 2-point plays that we practice every week. So you'll see some other things if we get in that situation again. But as far as at the time, that was what they thought was the best thing that should work, and it didn't. So I don't know what to say other than that. You do your best, and sometimes it doesn't happen the way you want it.
We're approaching the 2/3 mark in the season. What areas are you seeing that need a talent upgrade? I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus here, but if you were in the recruiting, what areas have you identified? I mean, we talked about linebacker throughout the year, and it just, you see the team wear down towards the end of a game and get gassed on defense, and you feel like that's a depth issue.
We have got to improve both lines of scrimmage and at linebacker. I think that's an area where we got to keep improving in recruiting, and I think we're headed that way with some of the guys we've got committed. So we have a probably the deepest offensive line we've had in several years, and we've got more depth in the defensive line than we've had too. But we need more still. We need better players still there, and at linebacker as well. We're not as deep at linebacker. So I think depth in those three areas are critical, and then we've got to make sure that we don't have a shortage at quarterback of a talented guy too, because every championship team you see has a really talented quarterback.
Coach, a story in the news this week, and our friend Andy brings this up as well. Sign stealing has been in the news, obviously, with Michigan. Obviously, UCF played former quarterback Dylan Gabriel's on the other sideline. It's possible maybe he remembers signals. I don't know. But Coach, what do you make of sign stealing and all the conversation around Michigan right now?
Well, as far as remembering signals, they change them all the time, and there are multiple signals for different things. So if somebody can pick up our signals, even filming it during the week, more power to them, because I watch every day and those signals change a lot. So I think it's more about the intent. I mean, the guy that's filming this, it does work for the football department at Michigan, and that's a bad thing. That's a bad image. As far as success in getting those signals and using them successfully on the field, it's hard enough to get our players who know the signals to run the right play, let alone try to get that information to the defense to have them stop a play. So I think that's overdone. I don't think there's a lot going on there, and I seriously doubt that Harbaugh would risk his job on something like that, because it's just not enough of an advantage. But I don't know. I mean, it's not a good image when one of your employees is in there filming games and has done 50 games or something like that, however many it was they've done.
All right, let's get back to Saturday, Coach. I've got you in front of the chalkboard. You've got chalk in hand. You've got 85 guys in front of you. Give me the keys to the game for West Virginia UCF.
Once again, it's going to be don't beat ourselves, third down conversions, and I think we've got to stop the run when we're on defense. So if we can do those three things, we'll win the game. That's what I see.
What's your favorite homecoming memory?
Winning. Period. No matter what, whenever we won, and we won most of them, but I think I don't remember anything exactly, but winning those home games, those homecoming games was big.
Whenever you're down at what's now known as Camping World Stadium, the old memories of the Citrus Bowl come back, though, don't they?
They do, but it's changed so much, it's hard to recognize it. I mean, it was a whole different stadium when we were playing down there.
Whole generation of fans that don't know anything about playing in that stadium. So
that is the truth. And we were lucky we had a stadium to play in, period, other than a high school stadium, because the Citrus Bowl was unused, and so we got it at a really great price, and it was a nice venue for us to play in. But there were times when it seemed empty, even though we might have 20,000 people there or 30,000.
And playing in mud puddles at St. Leo wasn't a sustainable plan. You needed to be somewhere.
Down that way,
Happy homecoming, Coach. Enjoy the game on Saturday. Let's get the dub.
I agree. Let's go get them, and I appreciate you guys and all you do. It's a great show. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, you heard it from Coach. Keys to the game. What do you think, Adam? Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, I've been on like 2 West Virginia podcasts this week. That's really odd.
Have you ever been to West Virginia?
Not once in my life, and I don't have a plan to get there soon. But What I've heard is
you'll probably play up there next year. You got to go.
What I've heard is that they are a team that's had some turnover, some mistakes. So I think one of the bigger keys is, you know, which team doesn't beat themselves. I think is probably the bigger key. Who makes the least amount of mistakes?
Yeah. Well, you know, we're a football school, Adam.
I've heard.
That's football, FUTBOL
Oh.
football. Number one ranked men's soccer, 9-1-2 overall, 5-1-1 in the not Big 12, Sun Belt.
Wow, yeah. I was going to tell you, you wrote that on the rundown 2 weeks in a row, Big 12. I caught that. I'm with you.
Yeah. First number one ranking in season of any sport in UCF history. I know some Collie Matrix folks are talking about that, but we're talking about regular season, which is huge. 2 games left in the regular season. UCF well positioned here. And, you know, when you get to be number one, you get press conferences. And head coach Scott Calabrese talked about the excitement surrounding being number one.
How much has your phone blown up since that number one announcement came out?
I've gotten a few texts and a few phone calls, which is great. And it obviously feels good to get that praise from my friends, especially, and my family. So it's been good.
But now you're the hunted and not the hunters.
I know. I thought we were number 2. I thought, okay, we're hunted. I think we got comfortable with that. And now you're number 1. That feels a little bit different.
It does feel a little bit different. There's going to be some pressure on him. Standout goalkeeper Juan V. Munoz as the red card. He's not playing. It's going to be Luciano Natoli in net at Georgia State. So that's huge. But it does get you to this point in the season, right, where there are thoughts they could win this whole thing, right? When you rank number 1, you could win the whole thing. And I know forward Luca Dorado is thinking about that too.
Yes, of course. That's the mindset we talked about before the season started. You know, me and some of the guys, Ernesto and AJ, Robbie, Zane, you know, we got together and we're just like, all right, we have a special group this season. You know, especially for those guys that it's their last season, so we want to make something special for them and for UCF.
What will it take to win it all?
A lot, as we said, there's a lot of sacrifices we have to make, you know, but we're ready for every battle we face. And
well, who they face next? They hit the road at Georgia State Friday, 7:00. Return home Halloween night against James Madison, senior night. But they've got more to play for, you know, Sun Belt positioning and the NCAA tournament, and so they're on a good run now. But to win it all, you got to keep winning. And good luck to the men. Go around the Big 12 before we welcome in our West Virginia guest. Let's turn to Jeff Allen.
As we roll around to the estimated halfway point of the Big 12 schedule, let's see what we think we know so far. Number 6, Oklahoma is at the top at 4-0 after narrowly escaping the Knights last weekend. 4 teams sit at 3-1: Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, and 7th-ranked Texas. The Sooners own a tiebreaker over the Longhorns by winning their matchup earlier this month. Another 4 teams sit at 2-2 in Kansas, BYU, Baylor, and this week's Knights opponent, West Virginia. So what do we know? Oklahoma certainly in the driver's seat to finish top the conference, but did the Knights expose any weaknesses in the Sooners? Texas, as the other nationally ranked team, is still the favorite to score a rematch with the Sooners in the conference championship, but all 3-1 teams face 2 of the others, so that could generate all sorts of scenarios at the end of the conference season. So after all that, do we really know anything? Here's the schedule for this Saturday. Oklahoma is at Kansas, 12 noon on Fox. Kansas State hosts Houston, 12 noon on ESPN2. BYU is at Texas, 3:30 on ABC. Iowa State takes on Baylor, 3:30 on ESPN+. Cincinnati travels to Oklahoma State, 8 o'clock on ESPN2. And, of course, the UCF West Virginia clash, noon on FS1. The Mountaineers went back and forth with Oklahoma State before dropping that contest last week. I expect more of the same this week, with the Knights taking the win by a touchdown. With your Big 12 minutes, I'm Jeff Allen.
What do we know? We know it's exciting week in and week out in the Big 12, right? Competitive games for the most part, not those big blowouts against Temple.
It's a tad more fun, the American. Just a tad more fun than Temple versus SMU.
Yeah. Well, let us get to know a little bit more about West Virginia with our next guest. He's Brandon Phoenix, part of the Raspy Voice Kids, part of the 1012 network covering West Virginia. Welcome back in, Brandon.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate you letting me join. I'm really excited to be here.
I want to begin with a quote from UCF head coach Gus Malzahn on West Virginia coach Neil Brown saying he's a really good offensive coach. He's a good football coach, period. I know that is the sentiment of Mountaineer fans, right?
Did anybody check his blood alcohol content after he made that comment? Was there a breathalyzer there? I mean,
can't confirm. Yeah, can't confirm.
Where is he at now with this hot seat? He went into the season on a hot seat. Now 2 straight losses. Where is he?
So I have been very adamant that he's not going to get fired during the season, regardless of what he puts out on that field, barring any major mishaps, like any Bob Huggins type mistakes. He's not getting canned.
If anyone would know about blood alcohol levels, it would be you, based on.
Yeah, we're very aware. We're very aware. We know. So the thing is, he's not going to get fired based on on-field performance because we owe him too much money. It's very, very unlikely. Now, don't get me wrong. People are clamoring for it after these last 2 games. The Hail Mary against Houston, completely and totally unacceptable. It should never have come to that. Then blowing a 4th quarter lead to Oklahoma State. People are not happy. People are not okay with Neil Brown. There are very few Neil Brown apologists left. We are not excited for him to be in the Mountain State. The question is, are the boosters happy? Is Ken Kendrick, part owner of the Arizona Diamondbacks, is he happy? Is Ren Baker, the AD, is he happy? Gordon Gee, the president of the university, is he happy? Are those people who are making decisions and shelling out cash, are they happy? Because if they're not happy, then the seat gets hot. If they're happy and complacent, then what difference does it make? We're stuck.
Which do you think is the more painful loss? The Hail Mary there against Houston, or UCF blowing a 35-7 lead at home over Baylor? If you had to weigh pain there.
Are you kidding me? You guys are in your first year, probably your first matchup with Baylor. That's like going out on a first date and the girl leaves and you don't ever see her again. We had to go back to our ex-lover and see them celebrate in our face with their new lover. Like, are you kidding? The more painful losses, without question, Dana Holgorsen celebrating on the sideline, then the field being stormed without players and new coach on it. Without question, West Virginia losing a Hail Mary loss to Dana Holgorsen in Houston, far more painful.
It's a compelling answer. Brandon, I've got the Twitter machine open in front of me here. And 16 minutes ago, you tweeted, man, Central Florida fans are confident, all caps, about this weekend's game. So why should we be confident? Why should we not be confident?
Well, you should be confident because West Virginia is reeling a little bit. They've lost the last 2 games, and they've lost them because they have not played well in the second half of games, in particular the 4th quarter. They're not playing football the way they had been characteristically through the season. They had been short tackling. They've been getting people off the field on 3rd down, and they had been running the ball, controlling the ball, and just basically beating their opponents that way. And that's not what happened the last 2 weeks. So West Virginia suddenly, the question is, has Neil Brown lost his players? It looks like they played hard until that last 4th quarter. It looked like they played hard for him, and they were willing to do whatever he was asking of them until very, very recently. So the question is, what are they going to do? How will they respond? That's why you should be confident, because West Virginia has not shown the ability to close out opponents, and they really have not shown themselves to be competent on the road. The reason you shouldn't be confident is because how can you be confident with any kind of lead against any kind of opponent when you had Baylor down 35-7 in the 3rd quarter and couldn't seal the deal? And I'm not throwing hate. This is not why we hate UCF. We're not doing that on this show. I'm just talking. I'm just saying, if I was a fan of UCF, I would not feel confident about anything until the final whistle blew.
Brandon, we're a caring fan base. I have a bunch of fans in the chat. Just they care about you, and they want to know if there are chairs available. Do you have a chair available to you? Just some fans who are really curious about that.
Well, listen. We have chairs. I can show you some chairs. We have chairs. They are available, but I like to stand. Yeah. I like to get my energy out. I'm the kind of guy who's always moving. At work, I'm always moving. People feel like they're uncomfortable. Sometimes they ask me to sit down, and I tell them I'm grown. I'm a full-grown man. I like to stand, so that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
But thank you for your concern. I do appreciate the concern in the chat.
And he wants to know if he can turn on the Kohler faucet that's right there.
Hey, good looking. I appreciate you recognizing what kind of faucet it is.
That's
Better than me,
that's
I would
what
not
you
have
can get.
recognized that if I didn't own one.
That's what you can get from the Sons of UCF fans here.
You guys are very knowledgeable. I respect it. And I want to tell you guys, I love the setup. I love the production. Sons of UCF, you guys do it right.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. You heard Adam asking you what to expect from West Virginia. When you're watching the game, what will make you feel that they've turned a corner after 2 straight losses, that things are going in the right direction for them? What will you be looking for?
Like I said, I'm not going to know anything until the fourth quarter. You know, obviously, if UCF jumps on our head and just beats us into the ground, it's going to be disappointing immediately. But if we have a lead, I'm not going to feel comfortable until I look at a team who can close their opponent out. Neil Brown has said it now 2 weeks in a row that what we've got to do if we want to be a good team is close opponents out, put them out of their misery, put the knee on the throat, end the game. And that's what we're looking for. Focus and finishing. I want to see West Virginia run the ball. I want to see C.J. Donaldson be more aggressive in his running. He's only averaging 3.7 yards per carry, even though he is our leading rusher. I want to see them continue to throw the ball down the field with Garrett Green. They did that very well against Houston. They did not do it as well against Oklahoma State. But it opens up the game for the RPO and for just C.J. Donaldson in general. And I would personally like to see more Jaheim White. Jaheim White's averaging 7.4 yards per carry. That's only 25 carries total. But the man is explosive as a freshman. He needs to play more. He needs to see the ball. Justin Johnson also needs to play more. He needs to see the ball. So I'm curious to see exactly how they're going to manage that. But they've got to get those players involved.
Oklahoma State rolling up nearly 50 points. Was that more a testament to them or an indictment of West Virginia? I mean, did you go into that game? There was a hangover effect from Houston, but did you expect as much from Oklahoma State?
I won't call it a hangover because it wasn't there the first 3 quarters. A hangover typically you'll see immediately. You know what I mean? Like immediately you'll see a failed response. You know, you get punched in the mouth and you're not ready and you don't respond and it takes you a while to gather yourself. That's not what happened. We had the lead going into halftime. We had the lead going into the fourth quarter. We didn't respond in the fourth quarter. That's when they really beat us down. That's when Ollie Gordon had 9 carries for 150 yards, 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter by itself. That's when he went off. He had a good game. He really had a good game, but he really, really took it to us in that fourth quarter. I don't think it was a hangover. I did not expect Oklahoma State to score that many points. If I was a betting man, I would have bet the under on the total. So I did not see that coming. And I would say that I'm always going to give credit where credit is due. So I'm going to give credit to Mike Gundy. He really has turned Oklahoma State season around. He's done a good job figuring out what they need to do and how they need to do it. But ultimately, West Virginia didn't get it done. They could not get people on the ground. They were not sure tackling, which they had been the first 5 games of the season. They were not doing their best as far as fitting in assignments, playing assignment football defensively. But so ultimately, I'll say it's 50-50. I'll give credit, but I'll also put the blame at the Mountaineer feet as well.
All right, if you're not familiar with the Raspy Voice Kids, they do a great job. Brandon, his brother Jeremy. It's sports, it's pop culture. And they had a video. They do a lot of videos around why they hate the other team. And there was a why we hate UCF video that was out there today. And I don't feel I'm adequately able to articulate my feelings on this, Brandon. So I had to bring in a ringer. Our friend Dolly Drama, who you may not have seen on Twitter. Dolly wants to join us here tonight. And Dolly, I know you love the Why I Hate videos. I need your reaction for Brandon here on his Why I Hate UCF video. Give him some feedback on how he did.
Well, first of all, Brandon, I appreciate you joining us on your shift as your stand-in at the wash sink for the video. No, I thought it was going to be a little bit spicier, but I came in hot. I started off with Why I Hate Pitt, and I went deep in the archives from back in the day when they were the studio joints. I'm going to tell you, it was pretty on point. The thing about, I know what type of guy you are with the sun with your glasses. That got me. That was solid. But it was good, man. I'm excited for it. We really don't have too much room to talk. We're 0-4 in conference. You guys are on the downswing of the climb. but it was still solid. I thought it was going to be the entire episode, not just the last 10 minutes, but it was good, man. Central Florida, the difference for the bounce house is a soft place for kids to play, and the American was great as well. So I got some stuff cooking too. I do my smack talk when we finally show up, but it should be solid.
I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you doing a deep dive. I saw your tweets on Twitter. I tried to respond.
Yeah, brother.
And I'll tell you honestly, the why we hates get harder and harder the worse we are. They're hard. It's difficult. It's a labor of love at this point.
No, you and your brother are a blast though. All of them are solid, and even talking a little bit baseball, pop culture. I like it. It's kind of like I like to write my articles, man. If you're just talking ball all the time, it's a little bit crazy, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for checking it out. I appreciate that. And thank you for the feedback.
Absolutely.
But let's be honest. You do respect and honor UCF's 2017 national championship deep down, right?
Let me tell you something. Let me guarantee you something. I will tell you this with 100%, no jokes, all facts. If West Virginia ever goes undefeated, wins their bowl game, I am buying any national championship merchandise they provide, and I will wear it with all of my pride. I don't care what anybody says, including my buddy Herd Hater, who wanted me to ask you if you were wearing your 2017 national championship rings tonight. I would be wearing one ring, and I would wear it proudly till the day I died. So I don't care what anybody says.
You got to roll with that. I mean, the only thing I could say why I hate West Virginia. Obviously, I think it was a freshman. You guys rocked this at the Citrus Bowl back in the day. It was like 05. But I would say, too, is giving South Florida a chance, thinking that they were building a program. They share that same photo of the crowd for that Thursday night Big East football when you guys were number 5. I think it was Pat White, right? Was in the mix?
Yeah.
In 2007. They used that photo for every recruiting pitch for everything. It's already been 15 years. And they have that over and over again of we beat West Virginia, then we got to number 2 for 4 days, and then now we're shit. So that's my only gripe with West Virginia.
Let me tell you something. If I ever had to, I mean, if gun to my head, I'm being held hostage somewhere, I could do a Why We Hate West Virginia video, and I could do better than you just did.
Brandon, what kind of research goes into the I hates? Like, how much research you have to do to get some of the material that you have to use?
It depends. Some teams are harder than others. I'll tell you right now, Oklahoma was pretty hard. Like when we did Oklahoma's a few years ago. So when we first did Oklahoma, we changed it up and did Why We Hate Baker Mayfield instead.
Fair.
That's easy. That writes itself.
There's only been a couple schools where we did a person instead of the school. But yeah, there's been a couple that were kind of hard. We had to dig deep. Why We Hate Tennessee is my favorite. That's my favorite one we ever did. The best part was the people who normally talk trash for their fan base made videos where they just acknowledged and accepted that everything we said was true and it hurt their feelings. And then we actually came out and won, which made it even better. We've not been winning these games lately, including the Houston one, which that was terrible. But we do a lot of research. Jeremy and I will sometimes share, but the best part is he won't tell me what he's going to say, and I don't tell him what I'm going to say. So if you listen or watch, my reaction to his spiel and his reaction to mine is genuine, it's organic, and it's real raw and uncut.
You think we have a chance here of West Virginia, UCF developing into a rivalry, a good rivalry in the Big 12?
I don't know. I mean, West Virginia we've got Pitt, Virginia Tech, Maryland. Those three, for me, are the ones that really matter. Penn State for some of the older fans. Cincinnati's got the best chance proximity-wise. UCF, I just don't see enough history or proximity for there really to be a rivalry. Now, we do go into Florida to recruit pretty heavily, so I could see at some point maybe that causing some kind of drama or friction, but I can't see it, especially with you guys having the vitriol you have for South Florida. I can't see us ever coming into a place where we're actual legitimate rivals.
Dolly, I'm hearing why he loves UCF. I'm hearing that as a future.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, I mean, you got to be stoked as a West Virginia fan that this conference movement is. I mean, you guys have been for the past decade just kind of the outlier on the East Coast. So, you know, if the cards fall in the next couple of years and ACC blows up, we'll get the Virginia Tech and the Pitt and the Louisvilles in the conference, and that'll be exciting for some games for you guys as well. But I'll tell you one thing, man, it is a little bit hard to do why I hate West Virginia, because that was my Thursday night jam for Big East football, watching Pat White and that whole Rich Rodriguez with the spread option. It was good times. It was a good background. We're in CUSA days with George O'Leary, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Is to see the ball spread around. And that dynamic quarterback was fun to watch.
Yeah, man, it brings a tear to my eye. I don't like talking about it. It hurts my heart.
Brandon, you brought some tears to our eyes, tears of laughter. We appreciate you with Raspy Voice Kids. You guys do great work. I'd wish you good luck, but that wouldn't be sincere. And Dolly, thanks for hopping on with us.
Always a pleasure, boys. Knights
Thanks
by
for
2
having me.
touchdowns.
Well, yeah, Brandon, what you got? What's the prediction?
Just real quiet between the four of us. Nobody else listening. Everybody else close your ears. I got UCF by 10, 31-21.
I love it.
Book it.
Okay.
Like it.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank you. All right. That is good stuff. They do a good job. There's so many shows on the 10-12 network, but I know about that Why They Hate segment, and I tuned into it and listened to their show. It's good stuff.
Look, if you've ever listened to the Suns podcast, and God bless you if you have, I love what they kind of do what we do, right? You talk a little sports, and you got to talk about life and what's going on in the world and pop culture. And yeah, we could break down 3rd and 7 all day long, but Brandon and Jeremy do a good job. It's a roller coaster ride. I remember when I joined the network and I was asking Philip, who's kind of in charge of the network, I was like, hey, tell me more about the shows. He was like, every show is really good except for Raspy Voice Kids. It's like a fight between brothers for like 2 hours. And I was like, I don't understand. He was like, just listen and you'll understand. And I did one time, and those guys do a great job. And so I'm glad they're teammates with us on the 10-12. Not this weekend. We're adversaries, but come Saturday at 4:00, we're going to be good friends again.
True. All right, let's go to some news and notes.
You want me to play that sounder again? You always get me with that sounder, Trace.
Corey Thornton. Let's go around the kingdom.
And there it is.
A lot of people are throwing on Corey, right? They got a little praise.
Look, he got that penalty on him in the end zone was one of the most egregious calls I've seen. I know Houston had a bad call this weekend too. That was a tough call. Oof, suey.
All right.
That was suey.
Volleyball dropped 2 at Baylor last weekend. Home for 2 with TCU. They dropped the first set tonight. They've won the next 2. They're in the midst of the 4th. Coach Jenny Maurer told me a week or so ago, they're at 16-4, 7-2 in the Big 12, looking for 20 wins, and they feel pretty good about where they are in NCAA tournament time. So, you're back home, got to win some over TCU. Women's soccer, they lose 3-2 at 7th-ranked BYU earlier in the week. They finished 6th in the Big 12. Congratulations. Best of the Big 12, Diana Martin, 2nd team all-conference, and Jessica McMullen, all-freshman team. They now, on Monday, are in Round Rock, Texas for the Big 12 tournament. Quarterfinals, they face 3rd-seeded TCU. So a lot of TCU in the mix now with volleyball and later with women's soccer. You mentioned it earlier. You're part of the mix on Around the Kingdom. Elo and I mixing up. Have a lot of fun with it. The fastest show in the UCF sports lane, 30 minutes in and out. And a little clip from that.
But I think this is the gutsiest game in a lot of ways. I think the guy should get a lot of UCF fans respect. He missed the ABC meetings, apparently, the day before. He didn't have missed meetings. He was sick. A lot of guys would have tapped out there. He did not. And he played well. He gave him a chance to win. He drove him down at the end of the game and converted on a 4th down play and gave him a chance to tie and send that game to overtime. I think in a lot of ways he canceled out Dylan Gabriel, maybe even outperformed really had much more guts than Dylan Gabriel did.
If I heard that correctly, I heard Eric say John Rice Plumlee better than Dylan Gabriel. That's what I heard.
Gutsier.
I don't know what that means.
Dylan Gabriel. Fresh out of the Hall of Presidents, our favorite animatronic guy, Brian W. Peterson.
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
Am I still allowed to play Hail to the Chief? Because I did last time.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Okay.
That's good. I like that. You can do that. At Riley Carey 16, what's your opinion on the interception? You talked about it off that.
Terrible call. I think both calls were actually bad, but that one in the end zone was terrible. And it turned out being material because Oklahoma gets the ball back, kicks a field goal. They obviously that's worth 3 points. We lose by 2. So
you can't say I include at Grill in 24Q. Dude, you're unrelenting on the.
Is he okay? Are you okay, Grillin? Like you got a lot of time in your hands, buddy. You okay?
But he throws in questions. I try to be an equal opportunity. He's talking about unsportsmanlike calls. It's happened a great deal, he says, under Gus. How and when will it be fixed? Will it be fixed? I don't know. Coach Hinshaw was pretty fired up though about the unsportsmanlike on Jay.
Look, you don't hear coaches often take players to task like that by name, calling different phrases and adjectives to describe that. That leads me to believe that there was some serious upsetness about that, or that was not the first time that's happened. So hopefully that's out of the mix there. We're lucky he didn't get called for the kiss, because that's a dead ball penalty there because it's in the middle play and that's not a touchdown. So if I had to choose between the two of the penalties, I guess we'll take the end zone one, but I prefer neither if I have to choose.
Well, that segues into at UCF Guy 23. He says, what do you think about Hinshaw blaming Xavier for not throwing the ball in the 2-point conversion and blaming Javon for losing the game with a reckless celebration? That's been a topic of conversation aside from moral victories and the 2-point play. But do you like that? Should it be handled in the locker room? I appreciate it being in the media room when coaches are candid like that. What's your take?
My only concern is in the transfer portal era, like giving more fodder to a reason why you have to leave a place is not necessarily the smartest thing to do. But as a fan, as an alum, as somebody who's quasi media, like I want to hear what happened. I want to hear the truth. I want to know what's going on. I want to know, hey, yeah, we had it open if we had thrown it sooner. Or, yeah, hey, that penalty was stupid. We shouldn't do that. I want to know those things, but I also don't want, I understand how that could play. Think about anybody at your own job. If you get negative feedback from your boss, how do you feel about it? Well, imagine if they do that in front of everybody. So as a fan, as an alum, I want to hear that accountability, but I could see how as an employee, and in some respects, that's what some of the players are. That rubs you the wrong way.
Who's quasi media, you or me?
Probably more me than you.
Oh, okay.
Although I've seen you ask.
I didn't know if you were doing a performance review of me during the show.
Well, if you want to, I've got some paperwork here. I do know, Trace. Only one of us has asked an unfair question to Gus Malzahn. Only one of us.
It's 2 fair, 1 unfair.
That sounds like 1 unfair to me. Yeah, 2 to 1's not good.
My friend Raphael, when will Coach Malzahn stop using trick plays on 2-point tries? Never. As long as there's oxygen in his lung. I'm sorry. That must have been a typo. He said Coach Malzahn. He means Coach Hinshaw.
Oh, I see what you did there. Look, the trick play is just part of Gus's DNA. Again, I think there are times for the trick play. I think there are times for like that play we ran on 3rd down with the fake JRP toss back, and he ran up the middle for a touchdown, wide open, untouched. That sounded like that was the other 2-point play that he referenced. That's a good play call. Give me more of those, like, formation eye candy type trick plays. But again, don't put guys in positions that they're not normally in. If Xavier Townsend was a good thrower of the football, he would be the quarterback. We have one of those people. Let him do that, not force someone else to do that.
And read Joyce. Nice. Good to see Joyce up in Oklahoma. We had how many players with the flu? She didn't do it. I'm putting flu.
Why? What do you know? Okay.
Yeah, this was a different team. What made the difference? I'll say this. You heard Brandon talk about losing the locker room, losing the team, right, with West Virginia. I like the heart that this team showed. They knew they had adversity, not only in the losing streak, but the health issues, and they showed heart in this game.
Yeah, I think they got a little healthier, and then they got sick. But I think Ricky Barber coming back, JRP coming back, I think they got a little healthier. then they got sick. But look, I think if you think about it, this is the first time we've seen like the full squad since that end of the Boise State game. So with Ricky Barber being out, with JRP being out, we learned, spoiler alert to all of us, Walter Yates apparently didn't play against Kansas, which we learned this week when he took the podium. So this is the first time that's happened. And I'm really distracted, Trace, because somebody in my house is making bacon and I can smell it from here. And I don't care where you are. If someone's making bacon, it gets your attention. It's also 9 o'clock at night. Why is somebody making bacon in my house? I need to
who do you suspect of your
It's my daughter, because she just got home from soccer practice. She's always hungry, but bacon wouldn't be the great post-soccer meal that you need. So
bacon, her coach probably wouldn't like her training regimen.
Yeah, she's not listening.
At Status Rockers, is there anything in the rules that says you have to have flu-like symptoms? That was in quotes. Flu-like symptoms in order for a team to receive IVs that they got before the Oklahoma game. I think that's happened before, right? When you need a little.
I think if you're dehydrated,
what's your IV history?
Multiple. I feel like if you're dehydrated, you can get an IV. I feel like that's a medical. You can get an IV now. I think as a normal citizzen, you just go to one of these places and they give you like a post hangover IV. One of these places that serves bacon. Get distracted. Go ahead.
Free Sport Travel talking about the fans, UCF fans chanting Dylan, which he wasn't sure if it got picked up on TV. I could hear it in the press box. So the UCF fans who traveled well for this game. What do you think about that? Getting into his head. Of course, he got the last laugh. They won the game. What do you think of that? Is that good-natured razzing? I tend to be let's win the game before we razz and chant and such.
I couldn't hear it on TV, and maybe that was that was the happy dads talking to me at that point. I couldn't hear it on TV, but I don't. Can the players really hear that kind of stuff? I don't know how much.
I could hear it in the press box, so the players could have heard it on the field. So at M_AF was moving defensive coordinator Addison Williams to the sidelines. The first chess move to get him completely out of the stadium. Oh, seems a little harsh. It seemed to work though, having him out the sidelines, and it's going to continue.
It did, and we shame on us for not asking Coach Lounsbury the difference between having a guy on the sideline versus the box, but it seemed to work. Also, important update: it's pepperoni, not bacon, that's being made at my house. Why does they smell the same though?
Was this ever a segment on the Suns pod? Know your cuts of meat?
No. I don't think Mike eats meat.
By the way, volleyball beats TCU. One more win closer to that 20 that they need. They close out TCU after losing that first one, so they're back at it Friday night. At Zeebel's UCF before the season, Gus said the team's goal was to compete for a Big 12 championship. Now pretty much dead last. Many shrugged that off as coach speak. Gus promised this week, it's not coach speak, we're going to finish strong. I think it was you or Mike who said it best. Win a game. Win a game before we talk about running the table. Just win a game.
Yeah, I understand fans are on Gus because he said we have a quality, team. We can win the Big 12, and obviously we're not winning the Big 12, and you want to hold them accountable to that. But did you want him to say, hey, we're going to suck this year? You guys should probably just sit this one out.
No coach says that.
Yeah, so I understand the need to hold them accountable to that, but I also don't know what else we would have wanted. It also would be great if he didn't have 4 losses.
Yeah. Holding the Suns accountable, I threw him under the bus last week when he asked about candy corn, and I said it was terrible. He's asking best Halloween candy. It's Reese's peanut butter cups.
Anti-peanut butter. I'm a big Three Musketeers guy.
Are you? Do you give out candy at the house?
We give out bacon, apparently, is what we give out. I would actually.
I'm picturing your daughter with a pepperoni stick and a knife.
If somebody give out bacon, I would be at your house. No, we are a candy house for sure.
Or the large size.
We have a mixture of both. I mean, they don't make like Skittles in the large size, but we have a couple of the big bars, if that's a thing I can use. I won't come back to be made fun of at some point. But we also do, the sweet tarts, the smaller packages. But you'll get some big stuff and some pepperoni maybe.
No pennies, no red and white peppermints, no lamey candy.
I don't think so. No, maybe some airheads, Laffy Taffy.
I would like to see your daughter just pepperoni into the.
I could probably bring in right now with the pepperoni if you need to see. I mean, let me see what I can do.
Golden Knight _2. Do you have faith in the offense or the defense to win a Big 12 conference game? I have more confidence in the offense this weekend.
This weekend, I also have more confidence in the offense. West Virginia wants to run the football. If we have the same running defense and the run fits that we saw against Oklahoma, I feel good about that. But their quarterback, Garrett Greed, he will run the football. When's the last time, Trace, we faced a quarterback that really is a threat to run? I don't know if we've seen that this year.
Dylan ran around a little.
But he wasn't a threat to run. He just kind of ran if he had to. Yeah. But Garrett Green also throws a good deep ball. So I'm curious to see how the defense really matches up. But I will agree with you on the offensive side.
At Eddie _UCF _2011, OU game finish strong or fool's gold?
Finish strong. This is the pepperoni that Addison has brought in there. So Addison, say hi to everybody.
Thanks for sharing, Addison.
We're on the live show.
Hi, Addison, thank you.
I'm gonna take.
I know.
That was good.
No.
That was good.
No, Addison making the trip this weekend?
Addison is not making it. Yeah, I took him. What are you gonna do about it? Yeah, no, she's not making the trip.
I feel that I can talk to you comfortably this week.
Aiden will be there, though. And he will have a notepad with him.
Yeah, Aiden takes
my pepperoni is salty. Wow.
That's Scott. 88513. UCF making a bowl? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. At Statboy Drew, hey, now writing articles.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Sons of UCF. He has proclaimed it loudly from here and there. Which throwback logo do you want UCF to use? Anything that's got the state of Florida.
I'm a big fan of the Lance.
All right, Andy. All right.
Okay. Okay. It's not bullying if it's your own kid, Eric. That's a rule. I'm a big fan of the Lance logo. Give me the UCF with the Lance.
I wonder why that is. At Black Gold _ Ed, if the 2013 team was the 2023 team, what would the record be at this point? I went back in on that. I got wins over Akron and at FIU, losses to Penn State and South Carolina, a win at Memphis, a loss at Louisville, a win at Connecticut. I got a 4-3 through 7.
I didn't do any research on that question. I didn't know what that meant. That seemed like a lot of math. But look, this just goes to show you, like we think about 2013, 2017, and Coach O'Leary uses to say this a lot, like 5 plays decide a game, right? And there are plenty of plays in 13 and 17. The ball bounces a different way and we have losses, right? Same thing can be said about 2023. Ball bounces a different way. We have wins. So, I asked Mike on the podcast this week. It's actually probably the smartest thing Mike said in a long time. I said, what happened? And Mike said, football. And that's really the only answer you can give.
He was pretty pragmatic this week.
Football happened. I mean, he's not wrong. Football just does stuff like this, and that's why we all love it, and that's why we all also hate it.
At UCF Knights Win, talking about Brandon Johnson, now in the NFL, 3 years Tennessee, 1 year UCF. Wherever a player finishes college is the school that gets to claim him. Now, I think Tennessee can claim him as well.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, if Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste, Tatum Bethune make it to the NFL, we got our claws into them too. So.
But I also wouldn't be mad if Tatum Bethune makes a tackle and they say Tatum Bethune from FSU. I wouldn't lose my mind over that. So I'm okay with that. Only if you're like an icon, like Mackenzie Milton would have been the only player I can think of that would have bothered me if he made it to the league and they called him Florida State quarterback Mackenzie Milton. That would have been the only one that I'd have been like, let's change that.
At RC Night 60, if you're sitting outside a brewery in Norman, what beer would you drink? This is Rick.
Yes.
Nice meeting Rick and Michelle. The answer is the Wardle IPA. The beer is Good Brewing Company, downtown Norman.
What was the seltzer situation like there?
I do not check into the.
Okay. Well.
At Rejoice Nights.
Did they not have Bounceberry Blast?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't think so. Will a couch be burned during homecoming tailgate? I don't know about burned, but there'll be some couches somewhere in homage.
So, shameless plug. I was on a West Virginia podcast this week. I think on Sunday, maybe it came out yesterday. I don't really know. Kuz's Corner, I think it's called. And he told me on that show that it's now illegal to burn a couch in West Virginia. It's like a felony because they want to crack down on some of the activities there. So apparently burning a couch, while a thing back in the day, now frowned upon by the local authorities there in West Virginia. So just be warned, everybody. Don't burn your couch.
It's against the rules to storm the field and ring cowbells in Mississippi State, but those activities still continue. Right.
Well, that feels a little less severe than burning a couch.
You think they're busting people for burning couches? They're hauling people off.
Trace, it's a serious offense. What there could be bushes. It's kittling everywhere. Like that's what we want to do. Unbelievable, you.
I want to thank Gianna for joining us for about a minute, and we appreciate the look at the fireworks off the top of the show.
Nice.
Coach Lounsbury for being here, giving us some insights as he saw practice during the week. Brandon, raspy voice, kids, always good times. Dolly Drama, a little cameo. And Addison doling out pepperoni.
That was salty. My goodness. I need like something. I need a water or something. My goodness, my sodium. Whew.
As you've been mentioning, we might all be kind of together, maybe somewhat, once Mike gets on his.
Mike's confirmed. I've gotten a text message. The Bright Line ticket is booked for UCF Mike. So either be aware or be warned. However you feel about that.
Look us up, guys. Find Adam, Mike, and I out there. Happy homecoming, everybody. And we hope that this breaks the losing streak and gets the win over West Virginia. For Adam, I'm Trey Strelko. Go Knights!
Charge on, says our friend.
Hi, my name is Antoine Jones. I'm a 6'6" shooting guard from Orlando, Florida, and thank you for watching Sons of UCF.
It's a good interview, by the way. If you haven't seen that on our YouTube channel, it's a really good conversation with Trace and Antoine. So you should check that out.
Looking forward to seeing him play.